Welcome to this session of Tech Talent Talk. We are your hosts, Oliver and Birgit, and we have this series of events to bridge the gap between recruitment and engineering. Oliver, would you like to introduce yourself?
You're muted, Oliver.
Well, first time trying YouTube. Hello. So I support startups and scale up with recruitment for tech and sales positions.
Thank you. And let me also introduce myself. I'm Birgit, and I work as a leadership coach and engineering leader. I advise people about creating high-performing teams through culture. And we have a really interesting topic today. We talk about neurodiversity. And for this, we have Florian Malicke here. Florian is autistic and has ADHD and has nearly 30 years of professional experience with neurodivergent individuals. Since November 2023, he has been working as a freelancer, offering coaching for adults with autism and ADHD. And additionally, he is booked for workshops, keynotes, and lectures. In his work, he speaks about neurodiversity and shares his own autistic perspectives. He is passionate about raising awareness and providing easily implementable tips. So let's talk about the tips. Florian, what is ADHD and autism? And yeah, let's talk about this one first.
First, thanks for being here. It's a pleasure. It's my first English talk show, so I'm a bit excited about that. What is autism and ADHD? The definition of the WHO, World Health Organization, would be there are some kinds of disorders, and if we talk about neurodiversity, they are just another neuro setting that is different to the so-called neuro-normative neuro setting. So there's a neuro majority and a neuro minority, and I belong to the neuro minority with my autism and ADHD.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is the difference between autism and ADHD?
Well, for me it's not. For me it's a bit difficult. Most up to 70% of autistic people got ADHD. So it's there are struggles between for example, autism is I like rules, I like daily routines, and everything should be similar and the same, so I feel comfortable. But sometimes my ADHD brain just is very impulsive. So I see something in an ad, so I have to buy it immediately. So sometimes these parts struggle. What they have in common is maybe these problems with the execution functions. So I'm not good in organizing things, and have really big issues even with a calendar or something like that, what is planen in English?
Planning?
Planning, yes, so easy. Planning events or dates or something like that. And people with ADHD have that mostly in common, and but also people with autism.
Mm-hmm. So I find it quite interesting when you say there are these two opposites of like autism. I don't want to change anything. And then ADHD. I really would like to change something, like impulsively without thinking, just like, yeah, let's do this. Which goes deeply into how we work as humans with our like biology, so to speak, with our hormones, right?
Hmm?
Yeah, I find it also quite interesting. Oliver, do you have a question to this?
As you just said, Birgit, we're talking about quite some extremes. The need for structure, basically, and impulsiveness. I'm wondering how you deal with that on a daily basis, Florian.
Yeah, it's not always so easy, I would say, because I'm very good in hyper focusing. So if I do something with passion, I can do a very deep dive into it. But if sometimes, if I, for example, if I look in my smartphone, oh, what is going on today? And then I just see literally just a fly outside the window. So, oh, a fly, and all this is gone, and I just forgot completely that I that I had to structure my day. So this is I need very much energy to focus again on my on that what I used to had to do. Oh, I don't know if I can explain so well, but I try.
I think you can, because like we had our introduction call before going into this live, right, Florian? And you are someone who has been diagnosed. Again, you have been diagnosed with age 46. No, 40. Yeah, 46, right? So this is quite old, and I think this is with. I mean, I would say it's quite late to be diagnosed with that. And we have a lot of people who are being diagnosed quite late in their age, right? And this is why you also find a lot of people, especially since we have difficulty having access to the diagnosis facilities, that a lot of people realize through the internet, through other people sharing their experiences, that they might have the same. Yeah. And there has been a movement going on, and therefore also statistics are reaching new heights, new records of like how many people we have with ADHD and how many people do we have with autism. And this is why also we both have come to the assumption, yeah, you can only say this is an assumption, then maybe also I might be affected by this. And this is why I can share and relate as well. For example, today in the morning, the first thing I wanted to do and to plan was to answer an email. And I still didn't do it because there were so many other things that I saw needed to be done as well. And this is what I find quite funny. And I totally can relate. Still, I'm not diagnosed, and still, you as an undiagnosed person, you are totally unsure. Yes, you show all of these signs, but is it really true? Should I go to this psychologist, to the therapist, and let myself diagnose with that?
It took me several years to go to a diagnosis. Yeah, about let me think, about 7 years or so, because I work in this field for 30 years now, and and autism was a special interest for me since I was a teenager. At this time in the middle of the 90s, autism was like Rain Man, so not so much talking, very very gifted in one particular thing, and but in daily business without help, you can't do anything. And but Asperger autism just came on the scene also middle of the 90s, and it took years till the early 2000s that we saw, there are also Asperger people with Asperger autism. And this is, so I'm that what's called an Asperger autism, but in the near future we just call it the spectrum, autism spectrum.
Mhm.
Yes, it took me several years to do that, because I thought people would think I'm crazy and I would relate too much to the people I work with. And I made lists. I made lists for years. What is the pros and cons if I'm in on the spectrum or not? But I had so much struggles, and I had psychological problems like depression or Angststörung. I don't know the English term for that.
Anxiety disorders, yes.
Anxiety disorders since I was a little child, since I was 5, and nobody could give me really an answer for that. And yes, okay, I make a point here.
Exactly. And you actually made a point. Like you open up the next topic. So you're being undiagnosed for decades, basically. And this is also what other people have seen and have experienced. And therefore, actually, you have opened up 2 points. One of the things, for example, is that neuro-normative people see neurotypical people. I mean, assumingly neurotypical diverse people.
Not diagnosed yet.
Not diagnosed, or not knowing that they are diagnosed.
Yes.
And think, well, that's a weird person, right? So, because this person doesn't behave as I do. So let's assume I'm a neuronormative person. So this person doesn't behave like I do. And this is why this person is weird. So we don't think about neurotypical aspects. We think about weirdness.
Yes.
This is something that we learn at school. And this is something that we learn later. This is something that we also learn inside our families, especially if we don't have knowledge about this one. And this is also something that and let's bridge the gap between the recruitment and engineering. It's also something that we are hearing and facing inside our daily work. Yeah, so neurotypical, neurodiverse people are being perceived as weird, and that I don't like. Definitely don't like that we are judging people by their weirdness, not by their diversity. Yeah. And this is also, and the other topic that you have opened up is when you are being perceived as weird. Yeah, let's assume you also don't know that you are being diagnosed. You get all the anxiety, right? The depression. Anxiety and depression is also like opposite as that also where you can change your behavior and switch between them, right? You have high energy anxiety, low energy anxiety, which can also be depression. Yeah. And so you come into, then for this, you go into therapy. And so you're being treated for anxiety and depression. Yeah. And this covers up your actual reason why you actually have that.
Totally right.
Yeah. And then only later, when you uncovered all of the things, then later someone might have the idea. And this is often not the therapist. In this case, it's often the internet that tells you, hey, you might have autism or ADHD.
Yeah, maybe.
Right?
in my case, it wasn't the internet, but it was myself. But I
It
know
was
what you mean.
yourself, because you
I
are
know what you
exposed to this on a daily basis, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, let's come to this topic. How did you get into this topic? I mean, why would you even work in this area of, you know?
Well, in school, I didn't know what to do in the future. After school, I didn't know what to do in the future. I felt like I'm what is the opposite of no okay, well, I try to explain it another way. I didn't know what to do, and I just got into things because I met people at a special time, at a right time. One friend who told me, "Oh, you can study social work if you if you go to the university and study one semester, one term, sociologic."
So yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Sociology.
And
I don't know the term in English either, but
okay,
yeah, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean. And I never had a plan. I always thought I don't fit. Didn't know what to do with my future, and I had it was good. I had friends or people who gave me important hints or pushed me in some direction. And so because I liked the topic of autism since I'm 15 or 17 years, so I thought, okay, that might be a good way. But then I did a lot. I worked with elderly people. I worked with disabled people. I worked with people who were addicted, and I made music projects, etc. But every time it always fell back to people with autism. I met people with autism, and I by the way, I didn't like the name autism then. So maybe that's why I didn't want to be an autistic too. So it just was. I didn't know where to belong, and I didn't do it active on an active way. I just fell into it most of my life. But now, last year, I made the choice to really do what I want to do. Yes.
Which is why, like, on the other hand, you could also explain that since you have worked mostly with people with ADHD and autism, you also felt more comfortable with them around, right?
It's yeah. If you people in the ADHD or autistic community, they talk on a different level to each other. They communicate on a very different way. If I would talk to a neuro-normative person or vice versa. And yes,
how can I imagine that way? How do they talk to each other?
Yeah, Oliver, this let me tell you something about the double empathy problem. It's about people like me who are neurodivergent, don't understand if you are neuro-normative, Oliver, people like you, because there's we do by the way, small talk isn't such a topic for us, or we don't know the communication on what is meta-ebenen on English. I don't know.
Meta layer.
Yes, on meta layers, what we talk is what you get, and there's no other layer between us. But mostly neuro-normative people think there is a layer. So that's always very complicated for me talking to neuro-normative people, because they always interpret
Yeah.
Yes. Something else I'm saying between the lines, and I don't. And people, so there are also misunderstandings. And when I talk to other autistic people, there isn't nobody of us thinks about other layers or so. It's just you get what I tell you.
This is also a super interesting point, because when you say that neuro-normative people think, well, there could be like 5 different definitions, and let me assume it's this definition of the sentence, like what I mean, you mean.
Mhm.
From my own private experience, I know that this could lead to really big discussions. You really need to be
Yes.
super careful about how you are forming your sentences, even the written ones, because this can be perceived differently, and you want to communicate it as precisely as possible, so that someone with autism knows exactly what you mean. Yeah, because what I figured out from my own personal experiences dealing with autistic people is that they think a lot about the possible meaning of a certain sentence.
Yep.
And so when they find at least 2 different possible meanings of one sentence, there will be a discussion about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not only about that, it's also about mimic. About I don't read other people's faces. I can't. I'd learned it, but it's not something I got with my birth. I needed to learn it. All the things in communication I needed to learn. I learned it with television series or looking at friends how they do that, and I learned from a girl how to flirt with other girls in the disco, and how to make eye contact, how long to make eye contact, when to smile, etc. pp. Oliver, I'm a bit I'm confused because you're always smiling, and I don't know why. By the way,
Because I want to say something, but I don't want to interrupt your flow.
no, just go into that. It's just
What
push.
you, yeah, and you told me before what you have just described with this communication issues, the search for a meta layer that is maybe not there, speaking very direct, trying to understand if there are possible meanings within a sentence. This actually reminds me very much of communication also in relationships between the different genders. Also, men and women have different ways to communicate. And very often it happens that one partner assumes the other partner wanted to tell something between the lines, something which wasn't there, and then comes, all the discussion. It reminds me of what you have said earlier. That after all, it's all about communication. All the issues that might arise between neuronormative and neurodivergent people can be traced back to communication.
Yeah.
So if someone has an issue, or if someone assumes something that is there or not, it is the best thing to just simply raise that, as you just did.
Yeah.
Thank you, Florian.
Yes, it's that's Oliver. That's right, and that's communication between all the people in the world. But communication is so tricky, and people like me always don't get the chance to understand that there was a misunderstanding because they are told they are weird, and people don't talk to autistic people then, even if they don't know they are autistic, but they are weird. And that's a big problem, because sometimes I thought I didn't have the chance to understand if a relationship broke up or a friendship broke up, people went away from me, and I didn't have the chance to understand why. and they didn't give me the chance, and that was a very hurtful feeling for me. And I didn't understand that I could ask, because I didn't have the concept of how can I communicate then in that way. That was hard to learn, maybe for everyone, but that's also that's a thing, because mobbing, etc., are so common in the autistic community at the workplace, for example.
I mean, mobbing by definition, from what I've
The
there might
real
be
mobbing.
of mobbing,
Yes.
but one of the definitions I found very interesting is that naturally people seek for resonance,
Mhm.
for response in a certain way.
Mhm.
And mobbing can be to not give them this resonance, this response. And this aligns very much with what you have said. If people don't understand you, if they perceive you as weird or different, or however you call it, they might choose to not interact with you at all.
Yes. And that's the thin slice judgment we were talking about before our event here. That's there are studies. They say if people are if people think other people are weird, or even if they know they are autistic, they don't want to talk with them or work with them. Verglichen mit, I don't know, compared to neuro-normative people. That's a fact. I don't know the really the why is it so, but that's quite interesting.
We have one comment. Malte is he has a comment about I am under the impression that the term autism is spoken lightly, and a lot of people are called autistic as an insult or to explain any form of eccentric behavior. That does not do justice to the struggle of an actual autistic people. Malte, I was the boss of someone that was actual autistic, and he had a completely different needs. I had to accommodate as a manager. And in terms of communication and workplace set, it was, for example, how can I translate that? Because it's in German.
A less sensitive environment.
Can you come again?
What he's referring to is an environment with less triggers. Triggers like noise and light, for example.
Yeah, and movements also. This is what I can say. Something that does not let you, like something that, you know, like every time something happens inside your environment, your neurons are triggering a lot, you know. This is, you want to avoid that.
I think what Malte is talking about, or at least it reminds me of this term hypersensitivity.
Yeah. We
and
have a spectrum, right? And so in the autistic and ADHD spectrum, we can also, I mean, in Germany, and I feel like also in other ICD definitions, hypersensitivity is not officially being defined. But we do have this hypersensitivity inside that spectrum.
Yes.
And I hope that this is being researched and then also finally being officially defined in the inside the ICD.
I'm a bit surprised that Malte said the term autism is taken lightly. I wasn't under
Me either.
I wasn't under the impression that this is taken lightly, but for hypersensitivity, I can see that very much. I can see that a lot of people are nowadays describing themselves as hypersensitive, and sometimes I'm not so sure if this is really the case or if it's triggered by something else.
And this is what I mean. I think that you could be hypersensitive without being autistic or having ADHD. So which means you might be in the inside some spectrum, some neurodiverse spectrum, but you could also be having every of these three. yeah, or even some more, because neurodiversity is not only autism and ADHD and hypersensitivity. It's basically, the definition of it is that your brain functions differently on the neurological point of view. So this is the definition. And we have some more diagnoses that you can get in this term, which is why if you have an environment that doesn't work for people who have hypersensitivity, it doesn't mean that they are autistic, but there's a likelihood that they also have autism.
Yeah, that's right. And Malte, thank you for your comment and for your and that you try to get a good workplace. I think that's one very important step of many steps that should be done. And if you have that inside, that's very good. Thanks for that.
I think what he refers to, a working environment with less triggers, is something that helps everyone.
Yes, that's all. That's everything. All these things help everyone. Yeah, but maybe I think it's still important to know that what autistic people are going through. Maybe, for example, that I have 7 up to 30 more impressions per a quarter of a second that goes into my mind than neuro-normative people. There are studies about that, and yeah, but you're totally right, Oliver.
And sometimes you might have the thinking as a neurodiverse person that, oh, I am like working on so many thoughts at the same time, I must be hyper intelligent. But actually, the thing is, when you don't filter, you also use a lot of energy. And this is why you might be exhausted so much faster than neuronormative people as well.
Yeah, and that's stupid was the term I didn't get. I always felt stupid because I couldn't study on my own. I always had people around me who helped me, and without them, I wouldn't have get it. Yeah.
Do you also sometimes like read a book and start a sentence, and then after that you have 7 thoughts about that single sentence?
Yeah, sure.
Wow. This is why it's difficult for me to read books. Let's talk about clichés. This is also what Malte like slowly getting into. Let's talk about clichés. For example, how skilled are people with autism and ADHD?
Well, I'm autistic, so I am Superman. No, of course not. My side on that is I can do things very good. I can do things not so good, but autistics often can do things good. They are not they're not seen as a good thing. Maybe
Like
for
what?
example, maybe I have a very good musical brain. If I listen to a melody, I can play it immediately, and I know everything about pop culture and which year was what, when, where. But at work, nobody. I can't. My English is so bad today. I can't use it for work. But I'm very good in that, for example.
Maybe you have the wrong job.
No,
What is-
that's now my right job, because that's my special thing. I'm so happy as I've never been before.
What I want to say is, imagine you would have a job or an occupation of whatever kind, where you could use this skill that you have just described, remembering the melody or remembering every detail about pop culture. Could be a very nice situation or not. Who knows?
Yes. Okay. When I was in the early 20s, I tried to make a music label because music is all for me. But then I had I wasn't able to to network, for example. So I had this. Usually I don't. I know these words. This passion for music, but there were other struggles that I couldn't do it for the work, for real. And autistic people often get back from other people. Oh, you are not right. You don't work right, etc. So they often do not know that they have Fähigkeiten, skills. They have special skills. They could use them in other workplaces or so.
Exactly. By the way, Florian, you're doing so great for the first time English interview.
Yes.
I mean, it's very fluent, yeah. So we also have, like, you talked about the superpowers already. So you said, like, yeah, I'm a Superman. No, I'm not. So as a joke, right? Let's also talk about what could be some superpowers and what are some weaknesses for people with neurodiversity.
Yeah, well, that depends on the perspective. If I double empathy problem, if I had a workspace just with neurodivergent people, everything would be fine. But when I work at a workplace with the whole range of neurodiversity, even neuro-normative people, so more or less it would be I would get struggles. That's that have most of the people in common. I work with most of the autistic people in common.
Mm-hmm. So we talked about, like, superpowers. For example, you have like special skills such as like, oh, I can recognize that pattern and that pattern, for example, in music, and therefore I can remember music much better. But weaknesses, what could be some weaknesses?
Now, as I try to tell you, one weakness could be that that the communication doesn't work, doesn't fit. And so the workplace should know that I'm autistic and that I have a different culture of communication that neuronormative, but than neuronormative people. Neuronormative people always think this is the only way to communicate. There are Schulz von Thun, etc., communication theories, but this is all just for neuronormative people, and neurodivergent people don't exist in science yet. And
so you say we need a Schulz von Thun for neurodiverse people. All for books, please.
Yes, it's not just because neuronormative people are the majority, but don't forget we are 20% neurodivergent. This is quite a lot. And these are 20% who are just forgotten. So
exactly.
the weakness is I think the weakness is that the most of the neuronormative people don't want or can't understand what it means to be neurodivergent, and they can't do the shift. It's always people say autistics don't have empathy, they can shift in other people's minds, etc. But it's also the same with neuronormative people. They can't shift in neurodivergent minds.
Which
and
is
behaviors.
Quite interesting, because I follow a very autistic person on TikTok whose name is Christian, and he currently talks a lot about what is empathy and how to recognize empathy as an autistic person. So he has quite the idea of empathy. So this is quite interesting. Yeah.
I'm not a robot.
Yeah.
There are even studies for everyone who really wants to know it, that that autistics got There are different parts of empathy, but I don't know the English term now. Yes, there are even some that are hyper empathies. They are hyper empathies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, empathetic. Yeah.
Empathetic. And but there are scientists who say if you're that, you're not autistic, and that's just science from 40 years ago.
So you say we need to have, I mean, definitely, psychology in the history is absolutely not perfect. It almost has been like researched, has almost been done only on men. And then
Yes.
even inside men, we have classified whatever property probably too narrow. And therefore we don't recognize the entire spectrum. So this is also, in my opinion, I started studying psychology. Also, in my opinion, this is something that we need to do again. So we need to do the work better as psychology scientists.
Yes.
Definitely.
In Germany.
Yeah. So that in the end, psychotherapists and other coaches in that area can treat us much better. And we can also have a better definition for the ICDs as well. Let's come to a recruitment topic as well. So we have also one special thing that like the behavioral interview, right? Where inside a recruitment step, some people might be judged by their behavior. And what is happening inside a behavioral interview is that there is a person who is listening to you while you are speaking freely about a thing that you would like to talk to. And so this person might have a psychology background or something to be able to judge you quite good. Of course, not perfect. I mean, I know how well people can judge you when they just have a bachelor in psychology, but they can judge us better than the normal person. However, let's talk about this behavior interview. Florian, what do you think about this one?
Sorry, I have to interrupt here because I think we have a different understanding of behavior-based interviews. So I'm a big advocate of behavior-based interviews, and it's from my understanding, it's not that the candidate talks freely about whatever they want. They are often asked to refer to a specific situation, S, to describe the task, T, the action that they took, and the result. So STAR system, it's called. And based on the situation, the task, the action, and the result, the observer, the recruiter in this place comes to a conclusion. And it's not so much that the candidate is expected to always succeed. This is not the case. They can also completely fail at the situation they have described of the past that really happened. It is important to understand what the learnings are if they describe the failure, also if they are self-reflected, things like that. And the idea is that the personality traits which become obvious here, they are not so likely to change because personalities are hard to change. And they also try to discover the so-called soft skills, let's say communication, for example, or being structured, being able to lead, things like that. Assuming that soft skills are for the workplace very important. Hard skills are important too, but hard skills can be more easily acquired. This is why there's such a shift at the moment from hard skill-based interviews or to soft skill-based interviews.
Thank you, Oliver. I think this is why we have like the engineering manager part and the recruiter part. Okay, Florian. Now it's your turn.
Yeah. Well, Oliver, you said you can't change personality so well, right?
Personalities can change, but it
Yes.
requires a lot of time, a lot of effort, much
Yeah.
much more than to acquire a hard skill.
But what if I tell you that you have a person there in the interview and you go on with a what if situation, and the person cannot say anything, but the person would have the chance to work there and could show in real life, at real work, what she is capable of.
And so, first of all, I personally try to avoid what if situations, because if I present a hypothetical case to you where you have to present me a hypothetical solution, what we are talking about in the end is simple fiction. I don't believe in fiction. And what you have asked, what if like a trial day for example could be also possible? I think the interview itself is one of many data points.
Yes, just
And
one.
what you have
Yes.
described, like a practical assessment, a trial day, whatever, would be another data point next to the interview.
Yeah, but then I don't understand it really, because you said that you talk about something that could happen. What and how does the person react to it? In my opinion, it's a what if situation.
Maybe we have a misunderstanding here from what Birgit said earlier. So the behavioral interviewing, what I'm talking about, always refers back to a situation that took place in the past.
Yeah.
We're not talking about a hypothetical solution, not a hypothetical situation.
Also, I remember I didn't say it, but in my mind, I also would have said it, that it's something that has happened in the past. Because it's like the what if goes into like, this is a manipulated question, right? And this is why it doesn't reflect fully your behavior, your own associations.
But in the past, was the people included in that situation? Was the person included in that situation in the past?
Of course.
Okay. So it's about what the learnings. Okay.
Yes.
Now I get a better picture of it. Now, okay. Now I go with you a bit more, because my point was, if there is an interview and you talk to an autistic person, you are not able to see his personality in his whole, in the whole. Doesn't work. But if you talk about something that happened in the past, and the person, in my case, if it was an autistic person, and the autistic person would knew, okay, the interview would be about that, then the person has a chance to show her capability.
What is probably challenging, no matter if you are neurodiverse or neuro-normative, that it's difficult to prepare for such behavioral interview questions. I think it's challenging for everyone. So there are ways to prepare for such interview situations, but honestly, I have met just a few companies who tell you in advance some details about the recruitment process, like what questions to expect, what kind of testing to expect. When they talk about interviews, they might just talk about interviews. Nothing at all, no other details given. When they talk about the coding challenge, then they might provide some details, but not for the interview itself. They're just some bigger companies like Amazon and Google, where I know they prepare the candidates.
Yes. And big companies with special neurodiversity hiring programs. they are very aware of it. And if I when I work with with companies, it's also about the recruiting process and what does neurodivergent people what does them help. And this is quite a bit different to neuro-normative people.
Do you have some tips
Yeah.
of what organizations could do?
Yeah, I just I once worked with an IT company, and I had a client who was going to work there, and they made it made a very good choice. He was very open about his neurodivergence, and so they asked him, okay, what do you need to work here and to do the best for us? And they had lists of, with choice, not multiple choice, but yes, I don't know
Checkbox.
English.
Yeah.
The checkboxes, and he also could write something. And from the beginning, there was an openness. And yes, you're welcome. You're maybe different than neuronormative people, but we like to have you here in our team, and we just want to know what you need to work here. That's quite
Exactly.
interesting. Or the SAP does the autistic hiring program, where people with autism can bewerben.
Apply to apply.
Yes, and other companies do the same now. For example, in Germany, not so. In Germany, it's not so common.
Slow.
But sorry,
I guess you want to say it's moving slowly.
it's moving slowly. And in the US or in the UK or in France, it's much. Neurodiversity isn't a point like it's in Germany. Yeah.
Mhm. I would even say I haven't, I'm in recruitment for about 10 years and I haven't heard
Yeah.
much about the topic.
Yes.
I'm also quite in the dark when it comes to like special application programs for autistic people or with people who have ADHD. I would love to learn more about this because even if you don't have a specific track for this or application track for this, you still might have like a sense. Hey, this person might be in that area. Let's try out this and that question instead of like something that fits neuro-normative people, and so on and so forth. What I also want to add is that when you are when you get this check mark as an autistic person or it's a person with ADHD, sometimes you might not know, okay, this is what I need and this is what I need. If you don't know what your actual needs are, the best thing that you can do in this case is to be aware of yourself, what stresses you, what makes you feel better. And based on this, you can go through the check marks and say, okay, this is something that I need and this is something that I don't need. And what I really like is that these companies are also providing some points as well, because otherwise I personally would have been very much in the dark. Okay, what is it that I actually need? Right. So this is something that I really like. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, thanks for making this point.
Florian, when we talked earlier, you said that during an interview there can be also challenges. And you referred especially to the art of asking questions, like open-ended questions or closed questions. Based on your experience, what would help in an interview situation?
For me personally, it would be great if we just talk about my work experience and maybe about solutions, like what happened in the past and what are my learnings. So not much small talk, and just focusing on the work.
So if I would approach you, how can I approach you best? So let's say the day has just started. We are both working in a co-working space that also is suitable for autistic people, and I just meet you, and I thought, okay, I could give Florian like some talk. So I could talk with Florian. How could I best approach you?
Oh well, maybe we should talk about masking. So what I did is I masked for centuries, no, for ages. So I know how small talk works, but I'm not comfortable with that. So what helps is, if you talk to me, you would recognize we really would really fast go into a deep talk about about topics, but because that's what I like. That's what my neuro setting likes.
Now,
So-
can you imagine this makes some people uncomfortable?
The deep talk.
Yes, yes,
Going there very quickly.
yeah. But otherwise, for me, it's uncomfortable to do small talk. Yeah, and here we are, double empathy problem. Yeah, different cultures of communication, really.
So if I, as a neuronormative person, would ask you, "Hey, Florian, nice weather today. How are you today?"
Yes,
Oh,
then I
yes,
tell you how I feel today, and that's some sentences, and not just one. Oh, I feel good.
Yeah.
But Oliver, this is a real problem, because sometimes people think I'm awkward because I'm distanzlos. I don't know what it means.
Without distance, you're like too close.
Yes, I'm too close because I go very fast into deep talk, and the people just are going to know me better, and and they think, oh, I'm come very near,
Too close, near
too
you.
close. Yes, yeah, that's a problem.
When you talked earlier about you looking at the smartphone and the fly that distracts you,
Yeah.
I thought how this might look in an interview situation. Because what the recruiter is also paying attention to is how structured the person communicates. And if there's a thought that distracts you and then you're suddenly talking about something else and I cannot get you back, this might be also challenging.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, Florian, when Florian and I are talking, we're definitely going like some several associations.
Yes, that's would not good for an interview. Yes. Well, Oliver, I think I personally can handle that, but it's very anstrengend for me. It's very exhausting for me, and after that I need to sleep for a long time, or I have 2 or 3 days off. Yeah, but I had clients who couldn't handle that, and they didn't had the feeling for that they are going from one topic to another, to another, to another, to another. Yeah, that can be a problem. Yeah,
exactly. Let me explain what Florian means for why do you get exhausted for days after talking for an hour or two with a person. This is because if we do something that we are not used to, we are taking an active part in behaving this a certain way. So we're doing this actively, which means the brain takes a lot more energy to do this something that we are not used to. If we have a behavior that we are used to, this goes into a like, I don't know, in some way where you don't take that much energy. It goes into a brain area, and that brain area doesn't take that much energy also. Also, it utilizes your energy much better. This is why when you're used to... Can you come again?
Because it's not a routine.
It's not a routine, exactly.
And this is what takes up the energy.
Yeah. And the thing is, I don't know if routine is actually the right word, because routine implies that when you do this often, you will eventually get used to it. Because when you're an autistic person, you will never get used to it because you will just
Yes.
simply work differently. So
That's
this
right.
might be the wrong word here. Yeah.
But I get what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes,
For people
mm,
who can adapt behavior or can adapt a certain behavior within their range, and within that range, you have that system. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Shall we come to the last question because we are already within the hour? Florian, what was your most positive interview experience?
For me personally,
Yes.
yes, when it was oh, well, I should have been prepared for that question, but now I'm now my mind is on another layer now. I think about something else. But no, I can tell you what I wish.
what are you thinking? Yeah. Then tell us, what do you wish?
Yes,
Yeah.
I wish more openness for different neuro settings and to question if everything that we learned in the hiring process or recruiting process is really for everyone, or are there people who are excluded even if they have more capability than others and they have not the chance to show it. Yeah, that's what I wish.
That's a great point. We have a lot of people with autism and ADHD who have several certifications and therefore might be skilled in some way. And we just need to find a way to communicate together. That's really nice, great last words. Thank you very much, Florian, for being here.
Thank you as
well. Yeah, thank you. And we will see each other in about 2 weeks with Lea Schöneberger, and how we can, we will be talking about computer science with women. Right, thank you very much, and we see each other next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.